lunch. We are excited with it. We have just a quick pause and a timeout. The conversation we had at our lunch was just how energetic this has been and how excited we all are about what's happening here today. So it's like a quick shout out to all the CSIS and all the people that took time to participate today. Great job, everyone. We've got a great afternoon planned up, and we're going to continue this good work. So just kind of more housekeeping. Just to review our back channel questions, our Google Doc is for questions. Bill Herman's monitoring those, and we'll kind of catch those at the end. And then our chat in the Zoom window is for just conversation amongst yourselves. And you can see 3 different ways to get into that Google Doc right there on your screen. So I would ask that the slide be advanced.
One reminder before we dig into this is just to be sure you have your mics muted as we get started.
Yeah, great reminder. Thanks, Annette. So as we go into our next session, which is called Cybersecurity Practices, we have 3 guests here today with us, Tricia, Roger, and Kyle. Tricia and Roger are here, but I'd like to do a sound check with Kyle real quick. So Kyle, if you could just chime in with a hello, make sure that we got you on the line and you're ready to roll, that'd be great.
How's everyone doing today?
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Kyle. So we're gonna do introductions. So I'm gonna go with Tricia, then Roger, then Kyle. Will ask you to introduce yourself. So Tricia, would you mind just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, and maybe why you're here today?
Sure. Thanks everyone for your time today. I really appreciate that, and thanks for having me here to come speak with you today. My name is Tricia Jansen. I am the Deputy Chief Information Security Officer with the state of Wisconsin, in particular in our Department of Administration. I'm with our Division of Enterprise Technology, and I have been in my role with the state for over 5 years now. My role day to day is to ensure that the data that is collected about every citizen in our state, to ensure that that data is protected and that cyber criminals are not able to access that data.
Great, thank you. Roger?
Hi everyone, Roger Yin. I'm a faculty member at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. My area of teaching and research and service is in IT, and especially in the cybersecurity space. Good news is that we're just about to launch a master's degree program in cybersecurity. And we do have graduate level certifications and an MBA with cybersecurity emphasis. I will entertain more questions if you're interested in that kind of opportunities. Glad to be here. Deep in my heart, EdTech, I'm an EdTech, for your information. I had a degree in instructional technology, and I started out as a networking and desktop support specialist while I was a graduate student. So that's how I started. So please accept me as a fellow EdTech and be willing to start a conversation with you. Thank you.
Great. And then Kyle, would you mind introducing yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kyle Bryans. I am a senior program specialist with the Multi-State Information Sharing and Analysis Center, otherwise known as the MS-ISAC. I do apologize I'm not able to be there in person today. I try to make it in person as much as humanly possible. But my role is I work with state and local governments, including K-12 school districts across the nation, most specifically in the northeastern and midwestern United States. And my role is to educate them on the resources that are available at no cost or at very low cost to you as public entities.
Great, thanks. And then just to reiterate, this slide deck is available for everybody today. And at the end of the slide deck, we have everyone's contact information. So should, through the course of this conversation, some questions come up that you'd like to reach out to them, we have their contact information available for you at the end of the slide deck. So I would ask that the slide be advanced, please. And our first question is, we're going to start with Tricia, but I'm going to also circle around to Roger and Kyle, have them expand if they'd like. So Tricia, please provide an overview of Wisconsin's cybersecurity support for K-12.
Sure, thank you. So just to give everyone a little bit of background with what we do at the state, from a state perspective. So just to shed some light on some statistics that we have for the year 2019. At a statewide level, we filter out approximately 90% of all of the emails that are tried to being delivered to the state. So our email filtering system last year filtered out 537 million emails. So those were emails that never even made it to any of our state employees. But the ones that do come in, so that's about 90% filtered out. Of the 10% that still come in, 1,191 of those were phishing emails and were malicious. And that is up from 492 in 2018. So we've really seen an uptick in the amount of phishing emails that are coming through to our employees, and the number of emails that are coming in that are malicious and that are phishing. So in addition, through the, you may have heard other events of cyber attacks in the news. I think in the morning session you heard of why people are motivated, and it doesn't really matter the size of your district. The cyber criminals will attack whatever they can. It doesn't matter if you're a small district, if you're a large district. They only see opportunities, and they are attacking all of the time. In fact, we had this past week, we had incidents in the I-94 corridor. We saw on the I-43 area. These attacks are happening on a pretty regular basis. And you may have heard Oshkosh was in the news, as well as the city of Racine. So we've seen a really steady uptick in ransomware in particular, not only in school districts, but other local communities as well. So from a statewide perspective, I would, what we have available for K through 12 districts is our security awareness program. If you do not have security awareness training today, you can take advantage of a state contract that we have. So we have the ability to provide all of the K through 12 districts security awareness training for $2.72 per person per year. That is provided through InfoSec Institute. If you do not have security awareness training today, or if you have something else that you're using that is more costly than that, feel free to take advantage of the security awareness training. That training includes not only modules that can help teach your employees in your districts, as well as your students, good cyber practices, but it also has the ability to test the effectiveness of that training through phishing simulation programs and tests that you can run within your district. In addition to the security awareness program, I'd like to talk just a little bit about our cyber response teams. So in 2015, the state of Wisconsin received a grant from the Department of Homeland Security to basically build cyber expertise throughout the state of Wisconsin. We recognize that at the state level, we do not have all of the resources that we need, the people, the process, the automation, to adequately protect all of our infrastructure. And in the local communities, we also saw that need. So the grant for cyber response team really is focused mainly on training and building a cyber group of professionals that have the expertise to assist other local communities as well as school districts if you do have an incident. Since 2015, we have responded, our cyber response teams have responded to almost 40 incidents to date. We have teams that are spread throughout the state of Wisconsin. So we're trying to cover from the way northern tip of Wisconsin all the way down to our southern borders of Illinois. In addition to our cyber response volunteers, a crucial part of our team is also Wisconsin National Guard. So they are there to assist in case a cyber response team is overwhelmed or we have a number of incidents that are happening at the same time. We do have the ability to deploy the Wisconsin National Guard. And we also have a private sector team that is available for threat intelligence and sharing. So as I mentioned, we've responded to close to 40 cyber incidents since 2015 when the program is launched. If you are interested in how to participate in the cyber response team, please feel free to reach out to me, to my contact information, and we can get you an application for how to sign up. But what do I do if I have an incident? Who do I call for help? If you do have an incident, the teams are available 24/7. We have a hotline to call, whether the incident is large or small. Sometimes small incidents develop rapidly into a larger incident. So feel free to call the Wisconsin Emergency Management. They have a 24/7 hotline, and that number is 1-800-943-0003.
And I think we actually have that in our slide deck at the end, but by all means, please write it down if you would like it. And if not, if it's not in our slide deck, we'll make sure we add it for everyone. So I think that's a great, great utility, great resource. And Trish, you've outlined a great amount of resources for our school district, so thank you. I'm turning it over to Roger. Roger, if we want to expand on, Tricia mentioned building that next wave of cyber protectors, and I know that's an area that you are good at. So how are you working to help support K-12 schools?
First of all, pardon me if I'm preaching to the converted, and I am on the same boat with every one of you that sometimes we fight a good fight, but we're severely understaffed, and budget's always a concern. And later, I'm going to talk about when we try to do more with more, and what would be the practical approaches to try to approach that. But basically, I think the way that I see the collaboration between our PK-12 two-year institutions, PK-12 CISAs, good friend Beth Clark, CISA 2, and the UW campuses. I represent UW Whitewater and their other sister campuses. We're all trying very hard, and I'm hopeful that gradually we'll have a platform that we can all share and jump in, and then all the resources can be shared and obtained and accessed. That is an ideal. In the meantime, programming, like in terms of training and development opportunities, are going to be available more and more. This Friday, Board of Regents will review two proposals, one from UW Extension, one from UW Whitewater. We are proposing master's degree in cybersecurity. So this kind of opportunities will be readily available if you're interested in advancing your academic credential and so on. And I'm aware of the badging and micro degrees are getting more and more popular as well. So that can be implemented and agreed upon. I know HERA, H-E-R-A, Higher Education Regional Alliance has been discussing about the possibilities. As I am going to explain to you even more about our collaboration and partnership with K-12 school districts in the CISA 2 Southeastern Wisconsin region, I just want to explain a little bit about the importance of continuous audit from inside and outside. The necessity to have the type of IT security audits A number of you have been working with me because of the proximity. I take my IT seniors every semester to perform an IT security audit at a nearby school district. So give or take, 30-minute drive from Whitewater, Wisconsin. So that's about my radius. So it covers pretty much the majority of CISA 2 region. Thanks for Beth Clark, who has been very supportive as well. The type of engagement, I'll call engagement here, that enable my college seniors obtain the firsthand knowledge and experience of working with K-12 partners. K-12 partners receive free, I wouldn't say complete free because pizzas are requested, that we share resources, the availability of a real enterprise size network system exposed to our students, which is a luxury. We actually explore vulnerabilities and all sorts of like on-premise exploitations. And I think this is a necessity because we have to play out the insiders scenarios in addition to the pen testing, the ongoing testing scenario. Only if we have that kind of measures in place and keep that, I will call it a balanced security scorecard in place with all the matrices, and we get to know if we are improving our security posture. And that will be an ideal situation. I hope that more colleagues that can actually across the state can offer this kind of services.
I think that's a really great opportunity for school districts. We've used it in my former district, and I can very much endorse it. But I think one thing to call out here is that you do have, if you have let's just say 1,000 seniors or 1,000 students in your high school, 1,000 potential people who might have motivation to you know, do the wrong thing. And Roger does a nice job of coming in and kind of helping you identify some possible vulnerabilities there. So I'd like to jump over to Kyle real quick. And Kyle, could you just talk a little bit about, you know, what MS-ISAC is and how you can help Wisconsin K-12 schools?
Yes, we actually started way back in 2003 as a partner with the Department of Homeland Security. We operate on a cooperative agreement with them to provide a host of services at no cost. I won't go over all of them, but like the state of Wisconsin, we do have a 24/7 security operations center that anyone is able to call if they have any cyber incidents or if they have any cyber questions. Our membership is rapidly growing. We have 9,000 members nationwide. Currently, K-12 is outpacing all other sectors of government with 1,700 members. And I believe we are over 80 school districts in the state of Wisconsin that currently leverage our services. Something that we offer and something I like to, especially in the K-12 sector, is cyber alerts. Through our Security Operations Center, I've known on more than one occasion where in the K-12 space, we have been able to issue some sort of cyber alert, which is something that is going on a rapidly growing campaign nationwide to a member of a specific state or a specific industry to let them know that a certain campaign is happening, it is targeted, and that we are here to help with recommendations, and we have a number that you can call if you are affected. Something else that we have offered the last several years is, I know something that Roger just mentioned, is with security audits and measuring your cybersecurity posture is our nationwide cybersecurity review. This is all based off of the NIST framework that we've developed and the assessment that we've developed based off of the NIST framework that we can measure where you are in your posture. And something that we've been able to do is with the rapid growth in that assessment is all the scores are anonymized, and then we are able to see where you stack up against school districts of your size. So you get to see where you are, because as we know, this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, so you can have a great plan moving forward to help build up your posture. In addition to a host of other resources that the MS-ISAC offers, we're always here to assist our K-12 partners.
Great, thank you so much, Kyle. So, you know, I think the takeaway from this introduction piece here, and throughout the day, we've been talking about what resources are available and what can we do, some monitoring resources. There's some really great ones that were just laid out here for us, and all of these resources will be shared at the end of the slide deck and in the future and on our website. So a lot of really good resources. So really excited everyone's here, and let's move on with the next question. So if you wouldn't mind advancing the slide. So I'm going to start with Kyle on this one, then we're going to go to Roger, then Tricia. So the question is, what advice do you have for schools with limited staff and budget? So Kyle, would you like to kick us off on that one?
Schools with limited staff and budget. I would assume that's everyone, correct?
Yes, we're gonna make that a firm yes.
So my advice to them, and something that we try to do with the MSISAC, is have as much automated as possible, because you don't have as many hands and you don't have as many staff to really go after as much as you want. And I know for a lot of folks in your position, a lot of what you're doing is you can get bogged down with items like password resets, and you can never get to the projects that you really need to get to help advance your district. Something that we've done at the MSISAC in automating is like our indicators of compromise to help with your firewall rules. We have our nationwide community get sent a list of the top attacking IPs and domains in the public sector that we've seen over the past week. We have worked with partners to help automate that process and getting it to your firewall, so it's something you don't have to worry about. We have automated monitoring services. So again, it's a set it and forget it, like those old Ronco rotisserie chickens. Just set it and forget it. Boom, you'll get the intel. So as much as you can automate as possible to help get as much off of your limited staff's hands, the better.
Great. And just to talk about that budget piece one more time, I know you mentioned this in your introduction, but the cost for your services?
There is actually no cost for any of our services. Yeah, for your budget, to try to take advantage of any of the no-cost services, and even with training too. I know a lot of you have staff that are looking for training services. There is a service called FedVTE. If any of you are not familiar with it, it's the Federal Virtual Training Environment. Anyone who works for a government entity or is a veteran of our armed forces have access to about 800 hours of on-demand free training that can help get you those certifications that you may be looking for.
Great. Thanks for letting me reiterate that. I just want to make sure everyone was clear.
So,
you are a great service. Annette?
well, I was just going to jump in because Kyle, one of the things that I say to them all the time is nothing's free, because it really isn't, you know, especially with apps for kids in schools. So you are a paid service. It's just that you're paid for through grants and monies from the federal government, right? So I just want them to hear me say nothing's ever free, and then to have you say it's free. There is a funding source there.
Yes, nothing is ever free. We paid it with our tax dollars, and what we work on is we get a cooperative agreement funding through the Department of Homeland Security every year to operate and to help use those tax dollars to help provide you service.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, which I think is even more reason to at least make a phone call to MSISAC, because it's there for you and it's kind of already paid for. So let's volley on over to Roger. Roger, what advice do you have for schools with limited staff and budget?
Thank you, Ed. First of all, I like to recommend a 2080 principle, 20% of resources to achieve 80% of the expected outcome. This can be identified and realized case by case. Your case may be very different from the neighboring school districts. In that, we can actually explore together. However, I think there are some specific steps that you can take into account. First of all, create a baseline concept, and this has been something that I think Annette and myself, and I've been having conversation with Beth Clark at CSA too as well, that if there is a baseline of some sort, it doesn't have to be so specific in terms of 10-page checklist, but it's something that we are practicing on a daily basis, like Kyle mentioned about automation. How much can we automate without like jeopardizing our the capability to scrutinize into the scripts or logs and so on. And also, baselining could be an effective tool, because let's try to remember how hard it is to enforce a password policy. And I would consider it as a case-by-case scenario once again. Some of you may be trying very hard to have a very solid password policy in your school district. Let's try to remember, password usually is the first line of defense and oftentimes the last line of defense as well. And then I am a champion of a balanced security scorecard. So we use matrices to gauge the performance of things that you consider important. And I can share that with you later if we can add to the slide stack as attachments. Next is inexpensive and incentivized user training. We can actually use badges and other ways. Doesn't have to be like a kind of a penalty-based solution, because then people feel bad about it. They don't even participate. But you know, and I know that users are our weakest link. Okay. Last but not least, I like to say effective system and technical controls. Kai also hinted on it. Keep the firewall configuration up to date. Endpoints is, I think that's gonna rely on a lot of helping hands, including student helpers, interns, apprentices. That's something we want to pursue later as a federal apprentices program. We can actually employ more veterans and their families. That's a different subject, but we can actually continue the conversation in that regard. And also, I think that when it comes to technical controls, we have to be very careful about like, when do we patch our system, software, hardware, and everything in between. That will be my 10 cents. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. And Tricia, what advice would you have for schools with limited staff and budgets?
I think Kyle and Roger have discussed about everything I was going to say, but just to add on that, so I am a huge proponent of the MSI-SAC. We at a state we are members. They provide a phenomenal service, and for those of you that are not members today, we actually, through our Albert sensor monitoring, do receive alerts that may impact your school district. So if you're not a member today, you may have heard from folks on my team at the state level reaching out to you of a potential cyber incident in your school district. But I am a strong proponent of MSI-SAC. We were one of the first members back in 2006, so we've been a member for a long time with MSI-SAC. And just to echo what Roger was saying about practicing good cyber hygiene, when you practice good cyber hygiene, you can reduce your incidents about 80%. So making sure that you know what's on your network. You know, I can imagine with all of the students out there and, you know, bringing in their personal devices and so forth, you know, there's a lot more risk in your district, but knowing what is connecting to your network, having good policies around what is allowed to connect with their Chromebooks, where they're allowed to go to, so that they don't accidentally download something that could cause a potential issue on your network. Installing patches on a regular basis. And these are cyclical things. So it's not like I do this once and I'm done. It's a continuous process. It's very important to patch on a regular basis. And also, besides patching, practicing good configuration management as well, because some of the vulnerabilities, patching won't address them. You need to have good configuration management as well. Just to give you an example of how you can engage your students. So we did have an incident in a school district, and we did deploy a cyber response team, but we were able to engage the IT folks, IT students in that district to go and help with the recovery process. So that class of students went out, and once they had an image, a clean image loaded, and they knew that the network was clean, the students were the ones who were actually going and doing the re-imaging and helping the staff reconnect to the network. So definitely tap into your students in your IT program as well.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you for that. I think that goes back to our original discussion when we say it's everyone's lift. So students do have a stake in this game, and it's nice to have them involved. So that's a great story. Thanks for sharing. And I hope what everyone heard is that, yes, nothing's free, but there's a lot of great resources out there to take advantage of. So with that, we'll move on to our next question. And that question is, we're going to start with Roger, then we're going to go to Kyle, then back to Tricia. What do you suggest schools do immediately? So if there's that one or two things that you feel like, hey, let's get this box checked, what would that be?
I have 4.
All right, you can have 4. We'll
I'll try to condense it. Again, I'm a proponent of trying to do more with more. And the resources, where do we come by the precious resources? First of all, I think we have to work with our business managers and district administrators closely. We're all in the same team here. The way to engage the additional team members in the whole thing is that we will champion and try to explain IT security expenses, and just like IT expenses are part of a business investment. All right, how do we actually shift the IT from a cost center to a profit center? It takes some time to explain, but trying to cut costs won't solve the problem, you know, and I know. But on the other hand, if a better protection and prevention measures are in place, we can actually cite the recent ransomware payouts, and then justify that we are actually not just escaping or like, no, it won't happen to me, but also here, look at our mitigation planning, all right? And then try to get our educational board to be on our side. The board members are also human, are influential individuals in the community. So we will try to engage the entire community to protect the community, because if you think of K-12 as a kind of the lifeline at the core of our community. So that's what I would suggest. Engage business managers and your district administrators to formulate a team to re-examine the resource allocation. Second, I would say I would echo what I just said earlier, that you must start thinking of an internal audit and external audit exercises, no matter how rudimentary it may sound. It's required, because that's the only way you get to know your scorecard in terms of your exposure and the practices that may be causing any kind of potential data loss and so on. I think it's important to know that there are two like holy grails upon the IT security audit exercises. I always ask my students when they're going into a partnering school district that you look for ways to get into student record database as well as the financial database. One of the two, jackpot. Both, you paralyze the school district. All right, keep that in mind. So this is also important. Keep the external, internal, and internal audits alive. And then if you want to get to know more information about how to go about doing it, I'll be always available to you, explaining to the action planning. Next is incentivize staff training and development. I think this is important. Take free training opportunities available to us. Tricia and Kyle just enlightened us about the resources. Also, a degree and certification programs out there. Please do consider. Last but not least, one thing you can do, there are already a number of online instruments and tools that you can assess how secure your school district is, or how ready your users are. We're in the process of developing something that's almost like a FICO score. You can actually take the survey or assessment questionnaire, and then give or take, this is kind of, take it with a grain of salt. Out of 100, what's your cyber hygiene IQ? That is in the making. So when it's ready to launch, I'll share with you. That's my 11 cents.
And if I could summarize, that was a great 11 cents. And I would say that a lot of that revolves around awareness.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate that you
right.
championing that and calling that out. So let's move on over to Kyle. Kyle, what would you suggest schools do immediately if they were going to do those 1 or 2, or as Roger said, 4 things? What would it be?
A couple of things I would do immediately, if you don't have it already, is make sure you have an inventory of all of your hardwares and your softwares on your networks, simply for the fact that if you don't know what you have, you don't know what you have to protect.
Correct.
Make sure you have a good network map, make sure those are all squared away, and make sure that they are reviewed constantly. In addition, make sure that if you do not have an incident response plan, that you work to make one. Or if you have one, make sure that you take some time to review it, make sure everything is still valid, and schedule a time to practice. Because what good is an incident response plan unless you test it and actually can take some lessons learned on how to make it better? My cheap plug of joining the MSISAC, notwithstanding as a number 3, but also get your leadership involved. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. It is not in a vacuum with just IT staff. That you do need to work with the folks in other departments, because one of my favorite sayings is nobody doesn't leave the bathroom without washing their hands thinking, we have a health department, they'll take care of everything. Well, that's what a lot of people feel with IT departments, that, we have a problem, our IT staff will take care of it. What we do at the MSISAC, one of my many hats is I am the co-chair of our Business Resiliency and Continuity Working Group, and we produce 15-minute tabletop exercises that I always recommend to people to bring to their Monday morning meetings, bring to a monthly meeting you may have with some other staff from other departments, and share with them why this is important and get them involved. So make sure that you have a good network map, make sure you have a good inventory, join the MSISAC, make sure that your higher-ups are involved, and those are things I would suggest to do immediately, and use this time while you're all together. Unfortunately, I'm sorry you can't be there, to network and get to know your peers, because we all help each other out in vast many circumstances, and that does include cybersecurity.
Yeah, and on those 15-minute tabletops, those are a phenomenal tool, and tabletops in general are great. And I would also just like to add that don't be afraid to skin your knee. If you do a tabletop, you're probably going to fail. Something's going to go wrong, but that's really uncovering a truth that you can fix and make better. So don't look at it as an opportunity to point out the negative, look at it as an opportunity to improve upon the negative. So let's slide on over to Tricia. Tricia, what would you suggest schools do immediately?
Just to echo Kyle, so he kind of stole my number 1, but my number 1 is also an incident response plan, and making sure that you have a plan, that you have practiced it, that you involve, as he said, other people, including your legal department, if you have any communications people. It's very important to involve them in the planning and practicing as well, because when the newspapers come knocking, they also need to know what to say and what the communication plans are as well. The other things that I would recommend is, as we've seen in a lot of the incidents that we have been addressing in K through 12, but elsewhere, is for ransomware, having a backup is very, very important. Having a backup that ideally is offsite. Ideally, you have tested it and you know that backup is clean. Because in a lot of cases with ransomware, they will try and encrypt all of your files, and at least you will have something to start from and not have to start all over from scratch, or even considering paying the ransom. Because once you pay the ransom, then they know they have a paying customer. Mm-hmm. And they will continue to knock on your door to see if you will continue to have issues. So those are my kind of two strongest takeaways, in addition to education. So the security awareness I talked about earlier, if you cannot afford even the InfoSec Institute, there are additional security awareness free resources from the National Cybersecurity Alliance. It's called Stay Safe Online. They also have a lot of videos that you can access for free. So it's an additional tool in your toolkit that you can educate your students, and educating them early. We at the state, on your Take Your Children to Work Day, we're having a cyber workshop now for staff employees to bring their kids in and teach them from a very young age about good cybersecurity practices. And as they grow up with the technology, hopefully they will also be educators for the future generations, so that we will have fewer incidents of phishing, and we'll be putting these cyber criminals out of business in the future.
Great, and you mentioned, and everybody talked about tabletop, so I'd like to just, for those who don't know what a tabletop is, we can just give an example. So I will describe it. If it's similar to having like a fire drill or a tornado drill, you're just basically running through what to do if this should happen. So maybe a quick scenario.
In particular, they're wondering about a good example.
Oh, so we've got actually have a question on it? Great. So could you give a really good example of like a really good scenario to start with for a tabletop? Like what would be a really, maybe I'll start with Tricia, like what do you think a really good basic tabletop would be?
So a tabletop is really kind of walking through a scenario, and it's usually made up, but based upon a true event that people have experienced. My recommendation, since we see phishing all of the time, is a scenario that you receive an email, it looks to be suspicious, it's coming from a source that you may not work with, and really you could develop a scenario to teach folks how to interpret that email and understand what makes it phishing and what would happen if you clicked on the link. So let's just say somebody clicked on it, then they were taken to a website, then they were asked to provide their credentials, then somebody put in their credentials, and then what would happen following that. So that could feed into also your incident response plan, so that you would have an incident to work with and run through, okay, so now I have this and I have a ransom note. What would I do? Who would I involve? I think that would be a good one to start with.
Awesome. Kyle, is there a particular favorite starting tabletop that you'd like to call out?
Something that I like to use, we have a lot of tabletop exercises surrounding around K through 12 school districts. One of my favorite for especially this time of year would be you have 3 or 4 staff members away and it's the day before winter break and you're seeing some abnormal log activity. What do you do? So we run through the scenario with some questions on the second page of our tabletop exercises that's developed by some of our peers. So we try to throw some curveballs out there by saying, well, now there's Wisconsin, it snows, now the roads are impassable. So we start to throw some other injects in there as well and try to see how folks would be able to react.
I'd like to add one more question here is, and this one is unprompted, but I'm going to just throw it at you. In those incident response plans and that good planning, that being preparedness, how important is cyber insurance, and and how, can you guys unpack that a little bit? Roger, maybe I'll start with you. Okay, I won't start with Tricia.
So cyber insurance, it's really important to know what your plan actually covers. And to know, because some plans, you may think it covers a certain type of incident, it may not actually cover it. You may think it covers additional resources to come in and help you remediate the incident, and it may not. So it's really important to understand what your cyber insurance plan covers. And we have seen in some of the incidents that we have responded to, some of the cyber insurance will also tell you to pay the ransom.
Okay.
If it was a ransomware incident, and they may tell you, well, we want you to pay the ransom because it will cost the company, the insurance company, less to settle the claim by paying the ransom versus what it would take to re-architect the network or provide the tools that you would need in the future. So knowing what that cyber insurance plan is, what it covers, would be very important to know.
Kyle, any thoughts on cyber insurance?
I'm just going to echo those thoughts as well. It's knowing what is in that cyber insurance policy that is the most important.
Awesome. And Roger?
We can't measure what we cannot quantify. And the same thing with insurance policy underwriters. I think this is important juncture because the insurance industry is also learning about this curve, and the curve is obviously trending up. They are taking some sufferings of late in terms of paying to what extent. So it is the next year or two, because I'm working with Acuity Insurance, and they're really getting into identifying the type of threats and sort of attacks on the horizon. And that is kind of a community learning project, if you can think of it. But my advice is buy cybersecurity insurance.
And look at it really carefully.
And look into the policies details very carefully.
Awesome, thank you. So that was the end of our question. We do have a question from the audience.
It's kind of a follow-up. The questioner wants to know if ISAC or anyone else has example tabletop exercises that could be downloaded.
So I'm going to start with Kyle, and the question was directed at you. If you by chance have a sample tabletop, and then we'll go over to the state.
Yes, we have about 3 years of archived tabletop exercises that are ready to go. I actually also have them listed out by NIST framework functions. If you're looking for something very granular, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I can get you as many as you like.
I think we'll be reaching out to you for a link, and so we can provide it to everybody. So I'm sure everybody's going to want to know where to get those. That's great. Tricia?
We don't have one specifically for K through 12. We actually take advantage of the MSISAC tabletop exercises a lot ourselves. So just to echo what Kyle said, and they are very good. They actually also usually do one on the monthly membership call, so that you can hear it. If you are a member, you can hear it and then take that back to your organization to share it with your district.
Great. And Roger, I don't know if you get into that.
I would actually highly recommend that we all look into what FEMA has to offer, because the whole tabletop exercises came from the instant response and disaster recovery necessity. And FEMA actually has a wealth of examples related to natural disasters, but obviously you can actually translate that, adjust the scenarios a little bit to man-made disasters as well, or a hybrid of both, like Kyle hinted.
Great. Well, while we look for any other follow-up questions, in case you're coming in right now, I'd like to kind of go around the room and do final thoughts as we near the end of the hour. So let's start with Tricia, and then we're going to go to Kyle, and we're going to go to Roger. So Tricia, number one, thank you for being here. But final thoughts on the topic we talked about today.
Yes, thank you again for having me today. Just to kind of wrap up for final thoughts, I think the resources that everyone on the panel provided are excellent resources. looking at more low-cost options as well as commercial products. In addition to any commercial products, there are also what they call open source resources to be able to tap into. We have communities of folks in the cyberspace and also IT space that they are also in the same position. They don't have an unlimited budget, and so there are a lot of forums out there that you can look into about open source. And as Annette would say, it's not free because it does take some people time and also perhaps, you know, some equipment to in order to operate these systems. But the software itself is free, and there are lots of those resources available as well. Again, if you are interested in cyber response teams, please feel free to contact me. And if you have help, if you need help, it doesn't matter how small the incident may seem, please feel free to reach out. We are here for you. We can't do this alone. We're all in it together.
Great, thank you so much. Kyle, final thoughts?
Yes, again, thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate being able to speak to you all as the ominous speakerphone panelists today. I would just like to reiterate how much is out there for K through 12 school districts to be able to use. Of course, with us, the MSISAC, we're always available. It is no cost to your district, all funded through federal tax dollars. If you're looking for trainings, reach out to FedVTE. I know, and I'm going to reiterate, the state of Wisconsin has a lot of great resources at your fingertips. All you have to do is reach out, and please feel free to keep me in mind if there's anything that we can do to help you.
Awesome. And Roger?
Yes, I will reiterate what I just mentioned. Please consider doing more with more and work with your district leadership team members, like Tricia just mentioned, that you're a team. You have to work together and to conquer the challenges together. There are many ways to do it. And I also like to emphasize on the 2080 principle. How do you utilize 20% of your resources, money and staffing altogether, to accomplish 80%? And this is how you would be able to stay on top of the game. And then where the additional 20% to be accomplished all depends on how you will be using the network you just get to make connected with today. And also, being a college teacher, if you have troublemakers in middle school and high school, point them to my direction. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and that's great, and I appreciate everybody taking time to do that. A couple of resources I'd like to call out. We do have the CTO clinic coming up at start of Brainstorm, so we're talking about tabletops. I know, Annette, you know a little bit more about that. There's going to be some great resources there. Could you expand on that a little bit for us?
So we're working with some people at DET, some people with some professional organizations, and we have written a tabletop exercise that is, as Tricia says, not real, but loosely based on fact, of its incidents that have happened here in Wisconsin schools. And on March 1st at the CTO clinic, and this link is at the end of the slideshow, we will have an afternoon. It's about a 3-hour tabletop exercise to walk you through. We're suggesting people come in teams. Weedle is working with DPI to sponsor that. So there are no costs to attendees except to get to the meeting. That one is not virtual. That one is face-to-face. And I think it's going to be a really great opportunity if you can get that leadership team, administrative team to come with you to have that opportunity to talk and work through a tabletop exercise. So we have that, and I also want to echo Ed's thanks to all of you for joining us and sharing the wealth of knowledge and resources that we have available to our districts to use and access.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Thanks everyone, for being here. We've got some more work to do here yet today, but I just like to call out that everybody here on the calls today and the CTO clinic and MSISAC and all those speakers, they're all volunteering their time. So we're in this together, and together we can get this done. I'm going to look to Bill, see if we have any other questions.
One final question.
One final question here, so if you'd like to call it out for us, Bill.
Yeah, well, they're asking DPI if we can post some of the things to look for in a cybersecurity insurance policy, and I'm also assuming that the panelists may have some thoughts about that.
So the questions around good look for in a good quality cyber insurance policy. Does anybody have any feedback on that?
So I'll take that one. This is Annette because the request was to us. We will work with the panelists and do a little more research, and we can post something on our website. We have a cybersecurity site. It's dpi.wi.gov/cybersecurity. We can put those resources there.
Perfect. Thank you, Annette. Any other further questions, Bill? Great. We were running a little tight on time, but I think we had time to do one unprompted check-in with one of our CISAs. So because they're on my screen, CISA 4. I'm going to call on CISA 4 if you guys wouldn't mind unmuting yourselves and just giving some reflection of the last hour and what your takeaways are.
I'm gathering thoughts.
Sorry about that, CISA 4.
That's okay. We're realizing that we're not even close to being secure. So this has been very eye-opening.
Great.
Of good resources.
Not great that you're not secure, but great that your eyes are open. Just want to clarify Ed's comment there.
Yes, if your eyes are open, you can move forward though, you know?
Yep.
So it's like you do what you can with what you have. So now we've got a multitude of resources to tap into. We've got some folks we can tap into. And I think that's a great beginning.
Awesome. Thank you so much for contributing. All right, with that, I think we're going to go to our next break, and then we will take a 15-minute break, and we will start our next session, our kind of our wrap-up session for the day. Again, I want to thank everyone for presenting.